Hello, YouTube. It is your boy, GZTV. We are once again back with another video, and in this video, we are going to be discussing Ozark. Just got done completing the first season. We watched the 10th episode. I gotta get going here. We're going to like a car show at like 11. It's 10:30 right now, so yeah, I mean, life is all about choice here in this episode, and I kind of want to speed up this process, get this episode done here. I don't know how fast this episode's going to be, but I'm going to try to be a little hasty with it. So, there's something about the Netflix model that encourages more intense creative investment in season premieres and finales. With shows that people are likely to binge in a weekend, a company needs to hook them and leave them wanting to keep their subscription active, at least until that weekend's season-ending cliffhanger is resolved. Just look at the first season of Ozark, which opened with arguably the best series premiere in the history of the streamer and ends with what might be the show's crowning achievement, a feature-length thriller with deaths both inevitable and unexpected. I mean, there's spoilers, so if you haven't watched this episode, please go watch it. I mean, did anyone expect Del Rio to die? To get killed in that fashion. I mean, that was crazy. The fact that there was, no retaliation, anything like that. Everyone just fucking died. There's no struggle. It's kind of insane to think about. This is, he's, one of the top dogs in one of the biggest drug cartels in all of Mexico. Yeah, it's an episode that finds the birds at a crossroads that could break up the family forever, even changing some of their identities, but it ends the season with them feeling more united than ever, determined to clean up the mess they've created in the Ozarks. There's been a lot of lost relationships, there's been a lot of feuds, there's been a lot of drama, and hopefully season 2 they are going to seek to kind of resolve all of these issues. What does the title The Toll refer to in this episode or even season? It's funny that the episode opens with a toll of a bell, reflecting both the dire fate of the show's preacher and the sense that time is up for Marty Byrde. Yeah, there's some interesting, foreshadowing, there's some interesting elements, in this episode, storytelling elements that the creators of the show did great with kind of giving the little details. Of course, there's also the toll of doing business in the Ozarks. The body count is rising, and it feels as if every parachute Marty finds to escape his free fall has a hole in it, and every lever he pulls is malfunctioned on him. Think about the number of times in just this episode when Marty has a few minutes to think he might have escaped his latest dilemma, only to be thrust into another one. He thinks, oh, well, I can get out. I have this venture. I have this way to kind of get out of my debt and pay off the cartel. And then, boom, something else pops up. It's a constant frying pan into the fire situation for Marty, and the flames are rising in this episode. This is how a season finale should be. This is super intense. It's batshit crazy the whole time. You can feel the tension. It's great. I love this finale. It opens somewhat quietly as the fallout from the deaths of Boyd and Russ impacts those in their circle. The birds go to pay their condolences, and 3 and Wyatt seem in shock, throwing rocks at a can. They don't even know what to think, Wendy thanks Ruth, both a moment of compassion and an acknowledgement that she knows what Ruth did for them, which is fucked up because they're literally at their compound, I guess. Marty doesn't keep secrets from her. Wendy's got to know about everything. And, yeah, unlike Breaking Bad, when Skyler didn't find out what Walt was doing probably until a couple seasons in, I believe. The real drama starts at Mason's first sermon on the lake since discovering his flock is full of drug traffickers. How awkward of a moment this is. I mean, he stutters and stumbles. Christ still loves you, he says. He looks closely and sees some of his flock in a new light. I mean, do not participate in the unfruitful deed of darkness, but instead even expose them, he says. Which pretty much paraphrases Ephesians 5:11, I believe. Someone said that on the line, and I was like, oh, okay, it's interesting, but he's actually using it in an appropriate context here. He then stops Ash from handing out the drug criminals. No, we can't do this. I can't stand for this. I can't, knowing that there's drugs being handed out, and I'm preaching the word of the Lord. Are my teeth crooked? Sorry, I was tripping for a moment. He needs to talk to Jacob. The service ends early, and Snow gets the call. Darlene is ready to act. I mean, Darlene is ready for whatever, and we kind of figure out later in the episode that she does not fuck around. Jacob gives her a nod. After a scene in which Rachel realizes the blue cat is now insulated with dirty money, Mason is at the Snell compound, kind of confronting him like, we can't do this. Yeah, I mean, these two men of principle are at a crossroads, but close viewers should already sense a problem. Darlene isn't there. And that's something you don't really notice, and there's something you don't really think about until, Jacob's like, well, Jacob tells Marty, well, the job's already done, and then you're like, oh shit, well, Darlene wasn't there, so we know what happened. She's always been by Jacob's side. Where is she? Life is all about choice. Jacob tells Mason, and the preacher has made his choice, and it's obviously going to have some repercussions, and it's obviously going to hurt him for the rest of his life, even though Mason doesn't quite know that yet. Jacob calls Marty and uses the word consequences. Never a good one from a drug lord. It's done, he says, and in one of the show's most chilling moments, Mason comes home to an empty house and hears a baby cry. We all know what that means. They forced the mother, Grace, to give birth to this baby, and then they killed her. Simple as that. No sugarcoating here. So, on the porch, he finds his child, but Grace is nowhere to be seen. She's gone. Mason is startled. He's shaking. What the hell is happening? Did they do it? I mean, I pulled out of their operation. Did Darlene really cut the baby out of Gracie? Grace? That's just insane. Mason's eyes dart as he hugs his child's head. He realizes he's going to have to nurture this baby without a mother. Marty has a plan. He always has a plan. He comes to Jacob with $300,000. He's prepared to be the Snell's sole customer, pay for their product, help them distribute it, do all that stuff. And he will launder their profits at the same time. Darlene isn't convinced and says a great line. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. I mean, Darlene's a pretty menacing character, I can't lie to you. An intense episode turns up to 11 when Wendy is caught trying to run with her kids by Dell's enforcer Garcia. And wow, this episode just keeps getting crazier and crazier. Jonah catches him, pointing the gun Tuck bought him at the menacing figure. That's why Jonah got the gun to kind of protect his family. He felt like something was up. He even pulls the trigger, but it doesn't go off, and it looks as if Jonah might get murdered when Buddy pops up and cocks his trusty shotgun. Buddy took the bullets out of Jonah's gun, and because if someone would have threatened a family, and Marty wasn't there, he didn't want Jonah to be the one to have to take action like that. Sometimes it helps to have a protective old man living in your basement who's probably seen some things. He tells Wendy and the kids to go outside. The camera follows as a blast shatters the window. Great cinematography there. After such carnage in the first act of the episode, the writers allow for a bit of calm before the eventual storm of the final scenes. Marty comes home to find a dead body and uses his new funeral home to dispose of it with the help of Buddy, obviously putting it in the incinerator so there's no trace of it. Petty comes to chat with Rachel about Marty. Then the action intensifies again with the arrival of the blue cat of Dell, who is spotted by the agent after menacing Rachel a bit. Can the feds really get Dell? I mean, he feels pretty untouchable at this point, and it feels like the feds are almost scared to catch him doing anything because the dude's a menace. I mean, he's surrounded by fucking henchmen everywhere, But yeah, Dell realizes that Garcia hasn't been answering his calls, and yeah. Ruth tries to console Wyatt, moving on to the Langmores, giving Julia Garner one of her best scenes of the season. She encourages him to keep his father's stuff, and their sympathy for his loss, regret over her fractured relationship with her father, and guilt over the death of Ruth all in one beat. I mean, there's a lot of sympathy here. It's a really emotional scene. Later, Cade will call Ruth and tell her, you and me are going to talk in person, whatever. It's a brief preview of season 2. I mean, yeah, they're going to have a chat, apparently. I don't know why they keep hinting at spoilers. The action intensifies again after Rachel appears to leave town, and Wendy goes with the kids to meet Marty, but finds a private investigator instead. Marty said meet him at this gigantic, random athletic field off the highway, and they do that, and boom, it turns out Marty's not there. It's P.I. He has passports, social security cards, and birth certificates for the trio to run. Without Marty, though, Marty can't come with them. Jonah doesn't want to become Mike Fleming, and Charlotte doesn't want to give up her phone, but Wendy seems ready to go. She's like, yeah, I'm willing to do whatever. I gotta protect my kids, I gotta protect myself. We need to get the fuck out of here. It's bad. She learns that Marty asked for these go packs to be made up way back in Chicago in case someone catches them and they're in danger. He always had this parachute, a way to get the family out of the Ozarks. It makes sense. They can run and start a new life. Wendy wasn't happy with Marty anyway. Like, you realize, you watch and they're not ever truly in love. There's no, compassion between the two ever, so it makes sense why she's so ready to dip on out of there, huh? Marty is about to be very unhappy himself. He finds Dell and an enforcer in his home, looking for Garcia. Like, where the hell did he go? Did you kill him? Yeah, and then the torture begins. Marty has a plan. Stop ripping his toenails off. It's so fucking cringe. It's such a subtle thing. That's gotta be one of the worst pains ever. Getting your toenails ripped off. Oh man. He convinces Dell to go with him to the Snells. He's going to merge his two major criminal overlords, which is fucking insane. The cartel loses 20% of its product to border seizures, offset that with Snell product, and have a major hub close to Chicago. It gets better. Marty wants to flood Snell land and open a casino on the water, a riverboat that can launder $90 million a month, more than enough for both operations to kind of take their share and move on with their lives. It appeals to Jacob's need for power and his desire for political capital. It all looks like a perfect deal until Dell jokes that only Marty could convince him to partner with a bunch of rednecks. And I can't believe that's what got him killed, but it fucking did. The calculated Dell didn't account for Darlene's temper. You can't just call them rednecks. The insult leads to a shotgun blast to the head for Dell, and Jacob shoots Dell's enforcer in the throat. I mean, the Snells did not come to fuck around. If you want to cross them, if you want to tempt them, go ahead. Marty can't believe it. I mean, they're screwed. Jacob insists that they'll send another Mexican to take his place, which is almost a funny inverse of the stereotype that just got Dell killed. Kind of like making a comeback against him verbally. They won't be suspected because there's no logic in killing someone they just went into business with. Like, if they suspected they were in business with them, why would they charge them with murder? A stunned Marty comes home to find the full government in his way, guns drawn, ordering him out of the car. They're looking for Dell. I mean, think about this. If Darlene hadn't killed Dell, Marty would be going to jail then and there with Dell. She saved him by destroying everything. That's how it has to happen sometimes. As is, with no Dell, there's no probable cause to go in the birdhouse. Patty later loses his shit in a motel room. Marty calls Wendy and tells her not to come home. Then you come to us. Marty doesn't think he can. He'll never stop looking over his shoulder. It seems as though they might run, but Charlotte takes the keys. There's nowhere safe for them. I mean, they're just going to keep running to no end. You made us adults the second you told us what Dad was doing, says Charlotte. And then Jonah says that if he becomes Mike Fleming, Jonah Bird will be dead, which he doesn't want. It's a really sharp, well-written scene that doesn't succumb to the melodrama that would drag down lesser shows. That's why this show is so good, though. In a terrifying scene, a dead-eyed Mason marches through the woods with his new baby, gets to the lake, and heads into the water. And you're seeing him walk through the woods, and you know we're by a lake. You know what he's planning to do. This guy's a fucking menace at this point. It's fucking terrifying watching this scene and, trying to figure out what he's gonna do with this baby. This shit is fucked, man. I mean, he dunks the child, leaving it open to baptism or drowning. I mean, could he baptize the baby? I mean, that'd surely be a beautiful moment. But he could also kill the baby because he said to Marty, this baby doesn't deserve to be in the world. But the emotionless look on his face implies the latter. He closes his eyes and suddenly lifts the child, doing the cross on his forehead. Thank God. I mean, he literally just baptized this child for longer than he probably should have. Finally, Marty is on his trampoline as the music in the episode calms. I really like the music at the end of the episode, too. He's alone, Wyatt and Ruth hug on the other side of the lake, and Marty hears a car pull up. It's the kids. They run up and hug their dad. It feels as though Wendy would have left, but the kids wouldn't let her. Now the family has to stay together. All exits are blocked. Marty and Wendy share a long, emotional stare, and this is their commitment. They decide to stay together as a family. They can't leave him. The kids realize that they just could not leave Marty. That wasn't going to happen. So anyways, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I gotta go. We gotta go to this car meet in a little bit. I'll probably watch a small chunk of the Ozarks episode. I will try.